Ships or Shipsy? Only you can decide. Find out more at shipzorz.com. Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey, and I am the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, as well as the CEO of Ships, and I cannot wait to see you all today. This is one of the highlights of my week, and today is a busy one. Wow, we've got Thoughts and Coffee this morning. At noon, I am doing a webinar with Ocean Insights and Pesty about the food supply chain and about capacity and equipment shortage. And so if you want the link to that, it's over on the Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn page right at the top. You can register. And then I'm going to the GWPP Shimmer event. And then this afternoon, I am recording the next episode of Blended. And that one's about the Black Lives Matter movement. And I cannot wait to share that with you later on in February. So I hope you guys are all having a great week so far. Let's go through what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain this week. So first of all, we've got a brand new episode with Passport Shipping. So if you're an e-commerce business and you want to know a little bit more about international shipping, these guys are changing the game. They are doing your customer service. They are also helping to move your parcels, and they're giving you all of the information that you need to move your products to your customers so much easier. And they tell us all about it in this episode. So it's episode 174, wherever you subscribe to the Let's Talk Supply Chain podcast, or you can go and check out podcast over at letstalksupplychain.com. This is our last week of doing our mini series with Blue Jay Solutions. I can tell you, if you've missed this one, you are missing out. We talked about visibility on the first one. The second one, we talked about simulation and how you can run some simulations to figure out how you can deliver to your customer faster, and so many more. It was awesome. Your global impact. And then number 4 is coming out Thursday afternoon. So if you want to go and find that mini series, it's wherever you subscribe, obviously. But then if you go to our podcast page and you see this is a category filter. So you can actually do a drop down and you can actually sort it by category to see which episodes you want to check out. But you can also check out all of our mini series as well. And because I am recording the next episode of Blended this afternoon, I wanted to let you know that we released episode 4 last week. It's called The World Stage. And we brought people together from around the globe to talk about diversity and inclusion around the world and what it's like in their parts of the world. So go and check that out. It's episode 172. Over on Let's Talk Supply Chain, but we actually also released this as a brand new podcast. So if you go to Apple, Spotify, Amazon, you're looking for the Blended podcast. So go and check that out. And I think that's pretty much it for what's happening this week. Let's bring Audrey up. Good morning, Audrey. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
Yeah, are you surviving? Because I know we're about to get 10 or 15 centimeters of snow today.
Oh, I didn't check the weather, so I had no idea how much, just that it is snowing. And it's so dark, I had to turn on like all these lights. Normally I do this and it's like nice and I'm right by the window, and today it's just very dark.
Yes. And the snow is piling up. I am not looking forward to later because I'll probably have to go dig out at some point, and it's a very, very busy day. So I am not looking forward to that later. Yeah. So why don't you tell everybody who you are?
So I'm Audrey Ross. I'm here in Toronto. I am a logistics and custom specialist at Orchard Custom Beauty. We do private labeling in cosmetics, bath accessories, and beauty tools.
Awesome. And you run the logistics. I mean, the logistics and the challenges that you go through on a daily basis. I mean, kudos to you. And
Thanks.
you're always sharing your knowledge with people, which I love. I love that
I
so much.
try, yeah, I try. I make a lot of mistakes on behalf of everyone else, and I try to share how to avoid making those same mistakes.
Which
So
is so
don't
complex.
do it the hard way like I do it.
Learn from me.
Yeah,
So I
learn
want to
from the
give a shout out to the
experiences.
people over on my personal LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
Peter, Matt, and Aaron, good morning. We see you, and we're so glad that you guys are with us today. All right, so what are we talking about? We're going to talk about the question of the week first. So, the
Hmm.
question of the week that we ask, so we actually pose this question to the community every single Wednesday morning on across all of our social media. And so the question of the week, you guys get a sneak peek to what that's going to be tomorrow morning. So it's what are your top 3 priorities for 2021? I mean, that is kind of a loaded question, is it not? I don't know about you, but I have so many.
Wow, top three priorities for 2021.
Hmm.
Well, and I mean, there's personal ones and there's professional ones.
Hmm.
Oh, I mean, seeing us through this container shortage, not that I have control over it, but just to like manage without too much disaster.
One of mine is to get the
Uh,
vaccine and be able to travel because I would really like to travel this year and find a beach
yeah,
somewhere
yeah, but
that's
based on
not
our
in
age group,
Ontario.
like that's gonna be September, Sarah. We're gonna be. I'm like last
No,
on this vaccine list, man. So that's fine.
no. My priority is to obviously tell more people about ships and what we're
Yeah,
doing with
yeah,
ships. And then also put out, just quality content as far as Let's Talk Supply Chain is
yeah.
concerned, and have those conversations more about diversity and inclusion. And I'm glad that we're having this discussion later today. Audrey's
Yeah,
going to be on episode 5 of
yeah.
Black Lives Matter on the Blended podcast. And I was talking to somebody yesterday, and she's going to be on episode 6. And so we're going to
Okay.
kind of continue a little bit of the conversation. And I want to talk about some of this today. Is
Yeah.
that when everything happened with George Floyd, everybody came out of the woodwork, and she's got a non for profit, and they were throwing money at her.
Nice.
And now they're saying, oh, well, we don't have the budget for it anymore
Yeah.
because it's not top of mind. People aren't talking about it as much, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who were those people that jumped on and were like, yes, we want to be behind this movement. Yes, 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 yes. And now who are pulling back and saying, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
we've got
Yeah.
to cut back and look at what we're doing.
Yeah, of
So,
course.
who's doing the right thing here?
Yeah.
But
Well,
anyways,
how
we're
much
going
of
to
it
be
is,
talking.
yeah, performative and how much of it is like you actually want to make a change,
Make a difference and make an
you know?
impact. And I think,
Yeah.
that's one of the priorities for me in 2021 is
Yeah.
to, I think we've already made an impact with that series, and it's not just that series, but with all the content that we're creating is to make
Yeah.
that impact, to have those uncomfortable conversations,
Yeah.
learn from those conversations. And so
Yeah.
that's really a priority of what I want to do in 2021 anyways.
For sure. I love
All
it.
right. So let's talk about my thoughts and copy post, shall we? Did you
Yeah.
see this thing? So I got
Did.
total okay. Everybody hears me talking about Cleo Wade. I love Cleo Wade.
Yeah.
She pops up on my Instagram all the time. I share her posts, and then she pops into my inbox about once a month. And when she popped into my inbox the other day, she was talking about how to reframe and how to move negative into purpose. And I really liked that. It really resonated with me.
Yeah.
I thought that it was really inspirational. And so I wanted to talk about it, right? Because right now things are messy. Like things are
Hmm.
really, really messy. Everybody thought that, 2021 was coming. There was going to be so much good change and we were going to be on a good path.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're still in the middle of the mess. So, how do we find meaning
Right.
among that mess? How do we
Right.
keep going? A lot of people that I've been talking to, and even myself, have been struggling from day to day. on a variety of different topics and different things. Some of it is imposter syndrome. Some of it is just the mindset and keeping that mindset, that positive mindset going. And so this kind of changed the way I was looking at some of the negatives that were coming down, and how can I reframe it, and how can I make it purposeful in my life? And so that's why I wanted to talk about this post. So what did you think about it?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, it was just came at the right time too, because it was, something that I was, definitely going through. um, yeah, and I think it's the challenge too of taking time and acknowledging what we're feeling. I think we keep forgetting that we are in a pandemic and that our lives have drastically changed, even if they haven't changed quite a lot. They've changed. Like this, they've changed. The energy of everything has changed. And,
Yeah.
So I don't think we can pretend that that's not true, or that we're not, on some level still uncertain and still scared. And I do think there's also space to yeah, kind of question what we're thinking, because especially for me, I feel sometimes I'm a bit isolated, and because I don't have a lot of people to, like I'm not talking to coworkers, I'm not, seeing friends as often. So it's making sure that, I'm if I'm getting these thoughts of like imposter syndrome, or of just being frustrated or feeling stalled, then it's like to stop and question that and look through that and see if there's a way to reframe it as progress, or to yeah, just to kind of question, like, is it really all doom and gloom, or is it because I'm in a pandemic, I'm at home, I'm and I'm just
Or
tired and don't want to do this anymore. I just want to be on a beach and I hate it and I want my hair cut. Like, what's my where am I at?
I want
So
my haircut too.
oh God, so badly. And it's so silly. Like, and then
No,
you're
it's
then
not
you kind of
silly.
are judging
Listen,
yourself over like, God, that's so silly. But it's like it's
listen.
so
My eyebrows need
annoying.
some tailoring. I mean,
Just everything.
you
I
know?
need to be around other people. Like there's just a lot.
Well,
So
that too. Yeah.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
too. I was going to say something there, but it
And I
totally
told
left my brain because I ended up talking about eyebrows.
yeah.
Anyway, oh, that's what I was going to say. So a lot of us are like focusing on what we haven't gotten done. And I was
Yes.
talking to somebody last week, and they were like, on a Friday afternoon, write
Yeah.
down all of your successes for the week.
Yeah.
So when you go into the weekend, you're not thinking about what you didn't get done for the week,
Yes.
but
Ooh,
what you
that's a good way to do it.
succeeded and what were your wins. And they can be like
Yeah.
tiny wins, but
Oh, the
just writing it
celebration
down.
list concept. Yeah. It's like I woke
Yeah.
up and brushed my teeth. Like,
Yeah, because sometimes we're like,
yeah.
like my
Yeah,
setup's
I did
no
nothing.
good, like my hair,
Yeah.
when last year,
Yeah.
when I was on stage and I had that one piece of hair sticking up and I didn't think anybody could see me. And I started going like this and grabbed some water and, try to help flatten out the hair. I mean, that stuff happens, people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if I had decided to do a celebration list on the Friday,
Yeah.
that probably would have helped me a little bit rather than focus on, oh my
Yeah.
God, I look like a complete
What did I
idiot in front
do?
of everybody.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. I guess we should probably get to our supply chain topics. What do you think?
Okay.
These are really good ones. So everybody knows I love the hustle. I found some really cool articles on the hustle this week, and I want to share them with you. So the first article that we're going to be talking about
Oh
is
yeah.
growing wood, which, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, well, is this really a supply chain story? But I read it and I took a look at it. And as much as we're talking about 3D printing and how 3D printing is going to change the warehousing game, right?
Mhm.
Where we can actually produce products within the warehouse. We can customize the products within the warehouse. This kind of takes it to a whole new level. And they're actually referring it to being like 3D printing, except for the fact that they're growing wood, which means that we're going to be able to reduce the amount of trees that we're cutting down, which is also a
Yes.
point for sustainability, but also has a supply chain component to it. And so
Mhm.
I thought that this was an amazing article. What did you think?
I mean, this could cause a massive shift, the same that we've seen a lot of improvements and innovations around vertical farming. instead of spreading things out onto the land, kind of stacking everything in, a sort of more like a greenhouse concept, but with stacking. And it's massive. I mean, it's massive for supply chain because you could then set up you would be sure shoring. I mean, you would be bringing the goods, you know, to your domestic market and producing them there, instead of moving things overseas, which also has its own cost. And it's a massive factor from a sustainability perspective because if you think to David Attenborough's Life on the Planet, what was it called?
I don't know.
A Life on Our Planet. A Life on Our Planet. Watch that on Netflix if you haven't, because it's amazing.
Okay.
But he's talking about the impact of the lack of biodiversity. So us doing all of this clear cutting and mass producing of furniture that maybe we don't even need, but we're cutting down all the forests and we're just not able to replace them as quickly. And so this would have a huge, huge shift on that impact. And it's fascinating because they grow it. It doesn't even need sunshine or I don't know. It was just like
Soil.
wood. Yeah, it was kind of
sunlight.
Yeah.
Great.
These MIT guys, man, sometimes they come out with some really interesting stuff. So.
I know. And they've got free courses. I mean, free supply chain courses. I don't know if you guys know this, but MIT X has free supply chain courses. I mean, if you want the certificate and things like that, you'd have to pay for it. But you can go through a lot of their courses for free. So it's definitely something to check out because they've got some really, really, really cool free courses over there.
Yeah.
But I digress from what we were talking about. And one of the things that I thought was interesting as well is they're talking about vertical farming. Yeah. And so they're talking about how this plays a role, I guess, in the vertical farming space. And the vertical farming space has gotten $945 million in VC funding in just 2019, which is crazy. Yeah. But they're saying that vertical farming generates 350 times the produce with less than 5% of the water needed. And water, as we know from a sustainability standpoint, is huge when it comes to producing all of or a lot of the products or even the clothing that we wear. Yeah. One of the things that I found out a couple of years ago was how much water is actually used to make a pair of jeans.
Yeah, it's so much.
Like it's a lot of water. I think people would be completely surprised how much water, and I'm going to Google it right now because I don't know exactly how much.
No, it's shocking. But we have to look at the fact that, we still need to farm to eat, right? Humans need to eat. But it's getting into this new world of the 2020s where it's like, do we have to farm the same way we did for the past 300 years? What are the changes and advancements we can make in farm technology that can really have an impact? Because the cost of, if our population is 7 billion plus people and we're trying to keep that many livestock and that many fields and that, to feed us, like it's of course it's not sustainable. So, I think any innovation in this space is quite welcome and will really help impact the climate emergency.
Well, and just from the webinar, the panel discussion that I did with Pallet Alliance and Procurement Foundry last week, we talked about how pallets are actually helping reduce carbon footprint because it actually absorbs the carbon. And so, I think at the end of the day, if we can cut down less trees so that they can stay in the environment, so that they can help, with clean air, and we can produce more wood that could potentially absorb the carbon, I think we're that much further ahead. But just so everybody knows, it's about 1,800 gallons of water are needed to produce the cotton in a pair of jeans and 4 gallons to produce the cotton in a shirt. Yeah. And so that actually leads me to our next article. And just so everybody knows, there's a whole conversation going on my personal LinkedIn page for this Thoughts and Coffee Live. They're talking about football. Erin's talking about how she likes to watch The Secret when she feels like she needs a reboot to the brain.
Okay.
And so much more happening over the LinkedIn page. Davin actually hopped out from here and went over there. Erin and Peter. So we've got all sorts of stuff going on today. All right. So our next article is about Adidas, and it kind of goes with what I was talking about with the gallons of water and how much it actually takes to produce clothing. And so what they did was they actually released a press release the other day about how they are going to have all of their products made with 60% sustainable materials by the end of this year, which I think is a really big number. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was reading through this article and I want everybody to go and check out this article or this
Yeah.
press release because it talks a little bit about how they're doing it.
Yes.
It talks about how they're taking responsibility for themselves and their facilities first,
Yeah.
and they're testing and doing everything within their facilities first. And then they're taking a look at their supply chain partners. So that's going to be the warehouses, that's going to be the 3PLs. And how can we take what we've learned in our own facilities and work with our partners to be able to make sure that every single part of our supply chain is going to reduce carbon footprint and meet our sustainability goals. One of the reasons why this is really, really important, guys, if you are a service provider right now, if you're a 3PL, if you're a warehouse, if you're a distribution facility, this is not going away. These are the things that your customers or your new customers are going to be coming to talk to you about. And they're going to partner with you on it. And there's going to be a plan in place, and you're not going to be alone. But you need to start thinking about this stuff right now.
Yeah. And it really goes through everything that they're doing. I mean, the highlight is, of course, the products or the Parlay by Oceans, the shoes. But the article really gets into how they are doing this in their facilities, right? So they are doing energy saving or energy conservation or just being more efficient with the resources that they're using, not just, to make the product, but also their whole corporate environment and manufacturing environment as well. And then another piece to climate change that sometimes we don't quite link is like there's the social justice piece or the improvements for workers. So they go into that as well, how they are very committed to ensuring that their workers are paid a fair wage, that that health and safety is put first because it talks about with COVID that they have enough PPE, that they have these hygiene protocols.
Yeah.
And that's important work for, I think, every business. And I think we'd probably be a bit surprised that some businesses aren't that extensive with it, because if you don't have your employees, how are you having a business and products? But I think it's great that Adidas, who's such a big brand name, is really pushing this forward. Just because at this point it's the most effective way to run your business. So why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, exactly. One of the questions that I do have around this initiative, though, is again about the water. So Adidas
Yeah.
produces a lot of clothing, and they're talking about using, I think it's sustainable polyester. I don't know the numbers behind this, and I'm sure that I would have to go and look it up to see, what that
Right.
looks like. So
Right.
we're using sustainable products, but what does that mean and what's behind it? So how much
Yeah. And
water is being used,
yeah. Yeah,
right?
because it's like you can make one change, but then are you just simply exploiting a different resource, right? You do
Yeah.
have to be really careful with having a detailed, long-term investigative plan.
Yeah.
Because people switch to this like, oh, I'm gonna do vegan leather, and you're like, that's plastic in a lot of cases. So you're
I didn't
well,
know.
in a lot of cases, it's like, oh, I'm not gonna wear fur. I'll wear faux fur, and you're like, don't do that. Faux fur is like, it's made of petroleum. Like, don't do that. How are you, like, yes, you're not wearing an animal, but are you saving the planet for the animals that you care about? No, no. So don't
Right.
do faux fur, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, there's little steps you can take, but there's if you're really going to commit to it, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, a lot of research, and then yes, you have to be able to manage out, like, okay, if I've shifted from one material to another, what are the new costs around that, right? Because there's always a cost. And I think the key here too is Adidas talks about their production. We're going to produce X amount of shoes this year in this way.
Yeah.
One of the key things that brands could do is to not just produce a bunch of stuff
Hmm.
and then hope to sell it,
Be more
because I don't
mindful.
understand how that is sustainable. I think pre-ordering, I think having customers select what they want in advance and then producing what like more made to order, I think is ultimately more sustainable than like, yeah, we've switched to all this like all of these nice materials, but we're still just producing a bunch of shoes that potentially are they selling every single one of those 61 million pairs of shoes? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there's a company out there, I believe that's what Public Habit does, is that they're
Yeah.
changing the way that, supply chain is utilized within
Yeah.
fashion and clothing manufacturing.
Yeah.
And they're looking at the sustainability options. And I
Yeah.
believe part of that is the pre-ordering so that
Yeah.
they're
It's
not
massive.
buying in bulk. I mean, one of the issues
Yeah.
that we have is fast fashion, right?
Yeah.
And that's got to be eliminated to really help reduce some of the waste. And I'm sure, Adidas being a big company is really thinking about all of these things, and I would hope that they are. And
Hmm.
hopefully, as time goes on and they learn a little bit more, they'll be able to share it with us, and we'll be
Hmm.
able to talk about it a little bit more, and make sure that everybody can sort of follow the footsteps necessary for them in their business, but also to be able to help with sustainability and climate change and to make
Yeah.
the planet just a better place.
Yeah.
So let's talk about robots. That is
Yeah.
our next one. Look at this video. Like
What?
I'm just like, really? They can dance? Could you imagine like working alongside one of these robots in a warehouse and it just like a song comes on that apparently
And it just starts to.
and it just starts boogieing? Like, I mean, that would be awesome.
Disconcerting.
You think?
The animal one, the dog one freaks me out a little bit. I don't know why.
Is there a dog there?
That yellow
Or is there a
one.
different one. Oh,
The yellow one. It's
that's
more
a
like
dog?
yeah, I don't know, a dog or
Oh,
is it a
yeah.
brontosaurus? I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a
Yeah.
tail.
So if
But
anybody has seen the show Next, that yellow one definitely freaks me out because they have ones
yeah.
like that kind of turn on you. Anyways, I won't tell you the whole plot of the TV series, but you have to watch it. Like it talks about, yeah. Anyways, it talks
Yeah.
about robots, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
No.
We're talking about how
How good they are.
the trend of warehouse robots is here to stay. Let me tell you. So they're predicting that 3.2 million units, or I guess robots, are going to be purchased and used in 2021. That is, I think it says something like double from 20. That's double from 2015. And
Yeah.
they're saying that within the next 5 years, the total spend on industrial robots could hit 73 billion, up 60% from today. So
Mhm.
now we're looking upwards of 7 or 8 million units being utilized in warehouses across the globe, I guess. And that's the other thing, service providers. If you're not thinking about this, this is something that you might want to be thinking about, or, supply chain professionals when you're looking at your
Yeah.
distribution facilities. We've
Yeah.
talked about this a lot in the past where, people are looking to move manufacturing or have multiple manufacturing sites, but just smaller. And, they're going to be implementing tech like these hopefully the dancing ones.
Not just regular ones.
I mean, they need to work a little bit, but like if they could dance a little bit and make everybody happy, I think that would be good too. But the other thing that they're talking about in this article, and I don't know if you guys can see this, but I just got to keep this up. I have a sign behind me that says collaboration is the future of business. It's something that I say all the time. And in this article, they're talking about collaborative robots or cobots. And I think that that's just taking collaboration to a whole another level. Audrey, I've spoken way too much about this article. But I love this video.
Well, I think that's the fear, right? The fear is the replacement, right? The fear is that robots are going to replace us. What will I do? And I'm like, I can find lots of things to do with my time that aren't some of the things that I do with my time. So here for the automation for sure. I was talking to a coworker about like doing some data entry, and you're like, I know there are companies who can take this on. So
Right.
yeah, having the the robots, that is the number one fear I think for people. It's just that it's very hard to shift your mindset from this is a tool that you could use that could help us leap forward, all of us hopefully together, and that it's not something that's like, oh, it's just going to eliminate jobs and humans are going to be miserable. I
I gotta
think
do
of
it.
it as,
I'm
yeah,
like, robot dances better than I do.
exactly, exactly. Like think of it as it's going to add to your life. But I mean, from a company perspective, it's a massive, massive investment. They're very expensive. So, you
Yeah.
really want to think it through. Like, don't just run out and buy one. Think
No,
it through what you really want. Yeah, no.
a dancing one. I mean, if there's a dancing one, can somebody please send me a link?
Yeah, just get it.
And,
But
because I want to see how expensive those are.
spare no expense for the dancing ones. you know. But if
Can
you're going
you
to use them in
imagine?
your warehouse, like actively, yeah, do some
They could
research.
potentially be a co-host on Thoughts and Coffee later on.
They could. I could delegate that happily. Yeah, we could automate that, and then I wouldn't have to brush my hair every day, and
That would be a hard
you know,
episode though, because they don't really talk, right? So I'd be like talking to myself and talking to the robot. Anyways, I
yeah.
did that once. I did that once at a conference where I was doing a video and I was going around and I was talking to people, and this company had robots, and I went up and like pretended I was talking to the robot as it moved around. And anyways, it was funny at the time. On that note,
Yeah, it'd be thoughts and coffee with a robot dance break, right?
yes, we need a robot dance break. All right.
Yes.
You know
There we
what?
go.
I'm gonna
Jeffrey's got the great last word here.
All right. I think that pretty much sums up today. Thank you guys all for joining us on Thoughts and Coffee. I
Yay.
don't think that I have my guest for next week yet. So that's just going to have to be a surprise.
Mm.
And I hope you guys have an amazing week ahead. Happy Tuesday. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.